Hello, welcome to a new project vlog. I am having such a sleepy, slow Sunday, but I'm just about to cast on a new knitting project and I want to share the process of this one. I've just bought a new knitting pattern. I've got so many things I want to knit, it was so hard to choose, but I completely fell in love with the 6-in-1 top by Oops and Loops from the moment I saw it, so I've got everything prepared to start that top. It's the closest pattern I found to a fitted t-shirt, and from the name you can tell that there's different ways that you can knit this top. It's got 6 options because one side of it's got quite a high neck and then the other side's got a low scoop neck, so it's reversible and you can choose which side you want to wear at the front. The pattern also has, you can do like sleeveless or little cap sleeves or long sleeves. I think I'm gonna do the cap sleeves, but the pattern says that if you want to do the long sleeves, it's just a continuation of the cap sleeves, which is so good. So if I change my mind, I can just keep knitting. I wanted to knit this pattern specifically because there's been such a trend on Instagram and Pinterest of girls wearing graphic tees with like pictures of fruits or flowers on the front of them, and I really like them. I really think they're, I mean, it's a t-shirt, right? Like, it's so easy to style, but I love it. It's having a moment, and I think I might try and add a graphic to this t-shirt as well. But I'm going to show you my yarns that I've got for this. So the pattern recommends a worsted weight yarn and 4mm needles, but the yarn that the pattern recommends is a superwash merino, and I don't have good experiences with superwash merinos because I don't have a tumble dryer. I knitted a sweater in a superwash merino and it's just stretched so much, and because I don't have a tumble dryer I don't have anything to shrink it back up to size, and I really didn't want that to happen. So I was looking online for a yarn that would meet the specifications, and it was really hard to find one that wasn't a superwash or something that looked like it could be itchy. So I ended up getting a DK weight one. This is the Sirdar Cashmere Merino Silk DK weight in the colour Water Lily. It is 75% merino wool, 20% silk and 5% cashmere. So I thought that silk possibly could make sure it doesn't stretch too much, and it is super lovely and soft. I think the silk is adding a lot to it. So I got 3 balls of this, and then I thought to make it up to a worsted weight I could hold it with a fingering weight yarn. This is by Malabrigo. This is their lace 100% baby merino wool in the shade Natural, and I thought I could hold these two together, but I did a gauge swatch today and it just doesn't meet the specifications at all. And I'll be honest, I didn't even finish doing the gauge swatch because I could see that the number of stitches was so wrong. I don't know if you can see the way that these two yarns look together, but I think the colours are a bit too different for them to look good together anyways. This is such a darker beigey yellow that it almost makes the fabric look a bit discoloured or stained or something. So I wasn't loving that, so I tried knitting 2 strands of this Sirdar wool together, and I hit gauge and the fabric is lovely. It's still a bit wet, but it's meeting the specifications, so I think I'm gonna go with this. However, it means that I will have to buy probably twice as many balls because I only have 3, but that's fine because it's such a lovely fabric. It's very thick. You can probably tell this is, I'm a bit worried about this being a bit too warm, but if it is, I can just knit the long sleeves and it can be a winter sweater. I think the silk gives it like a lovely drape and shininess to it. I then thought potentially about adding a little flower to the front of it. So I got some colours of Drops Alaska, which is a worsted weight yarn, and I was looking on Pinterest and I found so many really nice alpha patterns that I could potentially duplicate stitch onto the top once it's finished. So I think that's something I'm going to think about once I already knit the top and try it on and everything, because with duplicate stitch you can just go in with a needle and stitch it on top of the yarn. You don't have to worry about incorporating it into the knitting itself, which is good because I can't decide on which alpha pattern I'm going to use. I found a really nice one of a flower, but I'm not sure if it's going to be too big or too small, so if I don't like it I can just like rip it out and it won't hurt the original garment. So yeah, I think that's all the essential information that I wanted to say, so I'm going to go cast this on now. literally just cast it on, but I want to show you what I do to stop weaving in ends, because I never weave any ends in my projects, because what I do is I just hold the end in with my working yarn. And I want to know why this isn't like common practice. Like, I feel like I must be doing something wrong. Like, it does make the stitches more bulky. Like, I'm literally holding 4 strands of yarn together, but so does weaving in ends. So there must be a reason why people don't do this. So please let me know if you know. Also, my current entertainment is one of my new favorite YouTubers called Danish Musings. They were suggested to me in the comment of one of my earlier YouTube videos, so thank you so much. She does like hour-long YouTube videos and just knits like insanely impressive pieces. And she's a bit older than me, and she starts her YouTube videos with like a nice quote that's made her think recently, and she shares like some thoughtful wisdom around the quote and stuff. And my favorite genre of people to watch on YouTube is women that are a bit older than me and just like absorbing all of their wisdom. I really like thoughtful YouTubers that like share thoughts on life. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, the sizing for the pattern is huge. Like there's sizes A through R, I think, because it's the negative ease pattern, so it has to be very specific. And I am knitting size E. This is how much I knit today. This is gonna be the back panel, and I am so worried about this fabric. It is so thick and it feels wonderful, but I'm worried that I'm just going to be knitting an extremely seasonally confused garment, which I think will work to some extent because Scotland's a really seasonally confused place. Like today it was 16 degrees and drizzly and it's the middle of July, so something that's got short sleeves but is slightly warmer would work really well here. But I don't want it to be like stiflingly hot to the point where you want to take it off when you go between like inside and outside, because it's a t-shirt, so you're not going to have another layer underneath it. And I've just spent ages on Ravelry, like looking at everyone else's designs and making sure that their fabric is as thick as mine, because obviously because it's going to be negative ease and stretched out, I can't go down a needle size or up a needle size and just work with one strand, because then they'll be too holy. But I was looking at everyone else's designs and they seem to be working with fabric that's just as thick as mine, and everyone else is using wool as well. But then I don't know, like they would probably just put their stuff straight up on Ravelry before wear testing it in the real world, and I'm just like worried about it. But I'm gonna finish it off. I'm not gonna give up, because it is real fibers and it has got silk in it, so maybe it's gonna be perfect. Maybe it's gonna be like the perfect item. These are my late night knitting concerns. So I've decided this fabric is just not the one. Like, it's just too thick. It's so structured, you can really see like this isn't going to be something that's going to work as a t-shirt material. So I've been gauge swatching, and I figured out that I can hit gauge if I use 2 strands of that lace weight Malabrigo wool and 1 strand of the DK Cashmere Merino silk. And here's like a tiny little swatch of that, and 5mm needles as well. So the only problem is I really don't like the combination of colours. So I'm going to start again, because I don't want to put in so much time and effort into something that isn't going to be wearable, and I can tell that from now. So I am going to find a brighter white fingering weight yarn and buy that, and that will save me a bunch of money from buying 3 more bowls of this Sirdar stuff, because I think this is like £6 per bowl. So that's the plan. This is not really going the way I thought it would, but this is the reality of knitting a project not with the recommended yarn, I guess. Yeah, I'd rather be realistic than pretend that this didn't happen. I got so frustrated about that project and having to wind all that yarn up that I've had to take myself out in nature to decompress. So that's my bike, that's my view. I've just ordered some cheap 4-ply yarn that hopefully will arrive in a few days. So I'm going to continue this project then and just pretend that the past 24 hours weren't a waste of time. Okay, let's go. My emergency yarn arrived. I got one bowl of Drops Flora, which is 65% wool, 35% alpaca. This is in colour number 2, which is actually an almost perfect match for my rewound Sirdar yarn here. You can never tell with whites online, but they're pretty similar shades. I have done my final gauge swatch. I think I've done more gauge swatches for this project than should be legal, and as you can see I could not be bothered to finish it. It's still even a bit damp, but without me moving it around too much, I haven't stretched it at all, and it is meeting gauge perfectly with one strand of this Drops Flora, one strand of the Sirdar, and 5mm needles. So this is like, I know it's been 10 minutes already, but now we are gonna cast on. So this is how much I got done yesterday. I've basically finished the back panel and I'm just doing a few increased rows now. I think the next step in the pattern is to do something like put these stitches on hold and then pick up stitches from another side of this little rectangle, but it's way too early in the construction for me to actually visualize what it is I'm creating yet. I'm also almost finished my first bowl of the Sirdar stuff. It's going pretty fast and I'm really happy with this material. It's still thick, but the two colours of the, well, they're basically the same colour of white, they're blending together really beautifully, and it's way more flexible than my first version was. So I'm really happy that I trusted my gut with this, because I feel like this is going to be a lot more wearable than version 1 would have been. And today I'm actually going on a solo road trip. So I bought a motorbike at the start of the summer because I moved back in with my parents about a year ago now, and we're on the west coast of Scotland and it's very beautiful, but it's very remote and none of us drive. So in January I started taking driving lessons with the hope of having a car for the summer, but like I'm still taking driving lessons. It's taking longer than I thought it would. So in May I was like, oh okay, what if I just do the 1-day CBT course and get a little scooter and then I can scoot about. So I did that. I've got my lovely motorbike, but classically the weather hasn't been good. Like it's just been cloudy or rainy most days, and the rare sunny day that we get. So far I've been working or I've had plans in Glasgow, so I've really had very little opportunity to properly use it. But today is finally my day. So I'm gonna go on an adventure. I'm gonna take my knitting with me because the route I want to take, I think I'll have to go on a few ferries and I'll probably do lots of stops on the way. So we'll see how much I get done, hopefully with some really beautiful scenery. I'm on like a Mario Kart type road. I have to go really slowly because deer keep running in front of me, and this is the view.
at all times you should have a quality
So much has happened since the last time I updated this project vlog. So it's been like 4 or 5 days since the last clips you will have seen, and then the next day I filmed an update of the way that my knitting had progressed and what I'd done. And then I went to the beach and I dropped my phone in the sea and it completely died. So I've got a new phone, so the quality's gotten better, and that's why. I'll try and say the same things as I was saying about my project a few days ago, but I can't really remember what I said because I've been on the emotional roller coaster of withdrawing from a phone addiction, and today going right back into it. I've literally been like opening apps just because I can, just because they're there. So that's an issue I need to deal with. But anyway, this is where I'm up to. So basically the construction so far, the first thing I did was this panel and then casted on both of these little straps, knitted up, and then joined them together here in this panel, and then joined everything in the round. So you can see we've got something that's starting to actually resemble a top. But the reason that this hasn't progressed any further is that at the time I realised that the only pair of 5mm knitting needles I had were far too long, and they're also, I think I went over this in another project vlog, but they're not slippery at all at this bend bit, so it's really hard to knit in the round with them basically. One day I'll invest in one of those interchangeable knitting needle sets, but I've just had to buy a new phone, so that day's not going to be anytime soon. So I ordered some more 5mm knitting needles, some metal ones with a shorter cord, and they arrived today along with my new phone, so it was kind of serendipitous, I guess, that these issues all happened at once. But yeah, so next step I think is to do some bust shaping, continue knitting in the round to do the body, and yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm on my second ball of yarn now. So I'm either gonna run out of yarn or I'm a third of the way through the project. I'm gonna fully believe that I'm a third of the way through the project because I think enough has gone wrong so far. Here's my first try on. I've just finished doing the bust shaping. We've got the scoop neck in the front and it's a bit more of a high neck in the back there. But this is all that's left of my yarn. So this one on the left is the rest of the dropped flora, and what's on the right is the rest of my second ball of the Sirdar yarn. So what I'm going to do, because I want this to go down to about my belly button, is unravel my gauge swatches and see how far they take me, because I've got quite a few of them, so I think I used up a lot of the yarn because I did buy enough. Well, let's see, I mean the pattern, I bought in as much as the pattern said I would need, so hopefully that'll get me at least a little bit down to my torso. I'm really liking how it's looking though. I'm so happy with this neckline and it looks like quite a cute bralette just now, but yeah, lack of yarn is concerning, but we'll persevere. So this is where I got up to today with the gauge swatches. They actually did me really well. So I've only got about 2 more inches I want to knit onto the bottom of this before I'm happy with the length. And I've just joined on my third and final ball of the Sirdar yarn. So I think I will have enough for the rest of the project. However, I am just about to run out of my 4-ply drops flora, which is completely my bad for not buying 2 balls of yarn. I just wasn't thinking at the time. So I've ordered another one, and instead of just sitting around and waiting for it to arrive, I'm going to use my time to start on the flower design. So I think I'm going to go on Pinterest and find like some contenders and find my very favorite one. Initially, when I set out to knit this, I thought I would want this side to be the front and the scoop neck to be the back. However, just from trying it on, this yarn is a bit too itchy around my chest. Like this area I find really sensitive, and this yarn is just not the one for there. So if I wear it this way around, I have no issues at all. So I'm gonna have to wear it this way around, just if it's gonna be something that I actually wear and don't break out in a rash over. So I'm thinking just a little flower in the front here will be really cute. So I'm gonna get started on that. See this, I'm going to attempt to show you my thought process for the flower pattern. So I found this image on Pinterest. I can't find a source for it, but this is what I initially thought I would go for, but thinking about it further, it wasn't really what I wanted. And then I looked at my forever inspiration, which is this knitwear designer Bug Knit, and I absolutely love these starflower designs that she does. So I thought, okay, maybe there'll be a way for me to make a knitting pattern myself similar to this. So I looked on Chartminder and I realized that they had a function where you can upload an image and have it create a knitting chart for you. So I went on Google Images, I found this image, I input it, okay, that's just a website, this one here. I input it into Chartminder and it's gave me this. So I'm just gonna perfect it. I've put in like the amount of rows that I've got on the front of my top, and I'm just gonna add some more white to the middle, I think, and then I'm gonna learn how to duplicate stitch and just get started. 3 days of doing duplicate stitch and I've now finished my flower design. I am so happy with how this turned out. It was exactly what I envisioned, and yeah, I think it looks so good on. Although I will say this duplicate stitch with the worsted weight yarn on top of worsted weight yarn has made an incredibly thick fabric. Here's what the back looks like. And I think if I were to do this again, I would do stranded colour work, although that would take a lot more time to think about the setup because you'd be knitting it all together row by row. I think the end result would be a more like even fabric. But I'm still really happy with this. I love the colour. It's showing up really grey on camera, but it is a very muted blue grey that I think will be just enough of a neutral to go with everything. And it's just in time because the rest of my yarn is arriving today. So next step, I'm going to finish the I-cord edge. I really thought I had enough of both of my yarns to do the full I-cord edge, but I only managed this much. And so I'll finish that, then I'll finish the body onto the cap sleeves, and then we will be done. I've enjoyed the process of this project. I don't want it to sound like I haven't, but I did think it would take a weekend and not, I think it's been over 2 weeks now. I was actually looking at my YouTube analytics today and I've got twice as many subscribers now as I did when I started this project, which is mad. We've just hit 3,000, which is crazy. Thank you so much. I hope this hasn't been a frustrating watch for you to just watch me continually realise that I don't have the supplies. But it is what it is, and we'll get there. We're almost there. This truly has been a lesson in preparedness. It's only been about 3 weeks that I worked on this project, and most of that time wasn't actively working on it, but it feels like this has been the mission of a lifetime. Despite so many of my projects taking much longer than this one, it's been at the forefront of my mind. So I'm so glad it's finally washed and blocked and dried. It took like 2 full days to dry from blocking in the sun. But yeah, it fits like a dream now. I think I did about 6 inches after I did the bust decreases down, and now it hits just above my belly button. I think it looks really nice with some low-rise jeans or cotton trousers, and I'm so excited to style this more. I think it'd look really nice with like a little mini skirt as well and some big boots. And yeah, where did I last check in with you actually? I think it was before I did the cap sleeves and the finished the I-cord. This is my first I-cord and it went really well. I'm really happy with it. I love the finishing. The cap sleeves were very easy to do as well, very quick. A little bit of holes under the armpit, as this one's pretty bad actually, but I think that can be expected and no one's gonna see it. I've never figured out how to pick up stitches completely evenly without this happening at the underarm, but we're just gonna say that it's for ventilation. It's blocked out really well. I've tried it on. It's about 14 degrees today and it's not too hot, which is great. I think it would be too hot if I wore it in direct sunlight, but I think for August and September and October, this is gonna be a nice garment to wear here. I'm so happy with how the star flower turned out. I'll try and link the pattern, not the pattern, the chart that I made in the description, so if you want to recreate it. I do have to say that this, what was it, Drops Alaska that I used for the colour, it's very rustic. I wouldn't recommend it if you've got any sort of intolerance to itchy wool. It does feel a little bit itchy on, but I've got plenty of these types of camis where it covers the majority of my body and this can just go over the top. So it's definitely still something that I can wear. The pattern was great, had no problems following it. I do believe that if you were prepared from the start and you applied yourself, this would be such a quick knit because it's worsted weight, and I think overall I only spent like 5 or 6 days of the 3 weeks really knitting, so I think you could finish this really quickly. This is how much of my yarn I have left, and I'm thinking I may do an I-cord edge on the bottom to stop it rolling up, because I think I do have enough for that. And yeah, these were really good wools to knit with. I really hope you enjoyed watching me make this. I'm sure this video has gone on for far too long already, so I'll wrap it up now. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!